Welcome everybody, welcome to the Director's Garage. Welcome back, I should say, to the Director's Garage. I'm your host and resident idiot Michael, and it's a happy hour hump day. We're a little late today. I mean, we're a little late in the week to be doing a live stream, yet here we are. So cheers everyone, welcome. Got some stuff to talk about today. We'll talk about a few things, I guess. We've got a new product that just came out from Western Electric, which I'll talk about in a second. We've got, my fantastic mega shootout is done. It's completed. I finished it yesterday. I'm going to shoot a couple of wraparounds over the weekend, which is just because I told you this. I don't need these anymore. I told you this. I'm taking the big, huge. It's a 50-minute shootout. Excessive much? That's me. Yeah, it's a super excessive 50-minute shootout. So I can't, in good conscience, make anybody sit through 50 minutes of me. So, because nobody will watch that. Let's be honest. Maybe you diehards, maybe the diehards would suffer through, but it's too much. So I'm taking that 50 minutes and I'm cutting it into thirds. But I don't want to make this like, you know how some people they'll do and then they'll give you a cliffhanger. And then you got to wait 3 weeks, and then you get the next part of it. I'm not doing that. I want to go right away. So it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday of next week will be the 3 shootouts. Give people enough time to ingest it. I figure a day. I mean, whatever. And then, so you'll have 3 consecutive episodes. But I needed to shoot a little something because I split it after recording it, after making it. So I need to jump in and go, hey everybody, that's the end of part 1. In 2 days you'll get part 2. In 2 days you'll get part 3, whatever. So I need to record those little snippets to bookend the piece, so it makes sense to people. It's it doesn't just stop. So that's what I'm going to do that this weekend and just tack them in. But the 50-minute shootout, I do things differently. I get into post and I'm like, oh, I would have done that differently. That didn't work. So, but so I'm humming and hawing it now, but I'm not changing it. I'm like, it's going to be what it is. It's the 50 minutes and I'll just cut it into 3s. So, that's where that's at. It's done. I'm glad it's done because I'm a little tired of doing shootout stuff. It's it's a never-ending thing to do something that long. We'll take months to do a show that long, typically. So, and I did it in a couple weeks. So by myself, with no editors, no nothing. It's just me in this room. Cheers, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Made it through, fooled him again. Made it through another week. So the shootout is most definitely complete, and that I'm excited about. And I can't wait to show it to you guys and see what you thought, because it's going to be controversial. I know people, some people are like, oh, this is the best headphone, and I just know you're gonna hate this headphone, and blah, blah. And it's like, well, it's just what I'm thinking as of that, the point in time at which I do the shootout, and it's my opinions, and it's it's not God, it's just fun to do. It's fun to put all of these insanely expensive I'm cleaning because my room's a mess. Insanely expensive headphones into one group and go between them and what do I like about this one and what do I like about that one. That's a lot of fun to do. So, but I think everybody's going to have different ideas about what's right, and some people are going to think I'm half cracked because it's me. I usually am. So that's where we're at. Cheers, everyone. Cheers. What are you drinking today? It is Friday. Y'all can be alcoholing up. I can't because I got things to do. So. Oh, I was going to grab a Coke. I forgot to grab a Coke. Oh, well, I'm out. I got the back door open, so you're going to hear the planes coming out of Burbank. Can you hear that? It's playing overhead. Because it's really hot in here if I close it up today. We're through the air conditioning season here in LA, and we've gone right into fall. So the air conditioners are off, which is good, but it's very hot back here because I have the lights and the camera and the action, as it were. Let's see. Let me talk about some of the things I was going to talk about today. Oh, if you're a prog rock fan, which I am, I like all kinds of music, but prog rock is one of those, it's like that 70s era, So Good, Genesis and Yes and all that stuff. Supertramp is probably prog rock. Just such great bands, ELP, these are great, just core 70s rock sound. Peter Gabriel from Genesis is recording his first album in 20 years. First album in 20 years from Peter Gabriel. And he's going to tour on the back of it. So really excited to see what that is like. Because, we haven't, the last album I remember from him was like, I remember So and then Us, which were both fantastic albums. And then I think he had one more, like mid-90s. He must have had a couple more, and I missed those because, maybe they just didn't have, hits on it or something. I just skipped them. But to hear that he's doing something new, and we're going to get to hear it shortly, pretty exciting. So that's coming. And that's coming sooner rather than later, last I heard. So very excited to be getting new music from Peter Gabriel, and he's going to tour on top of it. It's going to look like the Phil Collins thing. Who knows, So that's exciting. That's really cool. So I'm super, super excited about that. Listening wise, this week I was back on I had the lyric out, of course, because I'm obsessed. And as most people would be for anytime you get a new piece of gear in. And it works so well with the SP1000 and this AK240, the old OG, because they don't need any power. So this and this, look how small this is a formidable. I was playing this for a friend of mine. He's like, dude, that's like so good. He's not in the hobby the way we are. But he was so super impressed by how that sounded and like how great that sounded. The Meze combination, because you can drive these. I've got the balanced cable. You just drive it out of the 2.5, and you get. It's just a meaty sound. So good. But I was listening to American Idiot this week. You remember American Idiot? It was a Green Day. Green Day had a number of huge hits. Starting with their album Dookie back in the mid 90s, and they that's my mom. Mom's chiming in, Mrs. Mom Director, and so she's telling me stuff about her bank stuff. Dookie was it was an earth-shattering record, and the reason that it became famous that Green Day and that record came to fame was Woodstock, the Woodstock '94 concert. They were one of the bands invited, and they wanted to make an impact. So in the midst of all the rain and whatever, they went on stage and they got in a mud fight with the crowd, the couple 100,000 people crowd, and people were slinging mud at Green Day as they were playing, and it became one of the standout, most memorable moments from Woodstock. And it actually took them from an obscure band with a new record and put them right front and center. It really made the group. So they had a good run through the 90s, pretty good, and they kind of disappeared a little bit. And then they came out with American Idiot, and American Idiot was basically a story album, it was a concept album, maybe one of the best of all time. I mean, I think of the concept records that were out there, and I think of that are, you know, that happened. And, you know, I guess you could say Sgt. Pepper was, of course, a concept record in some degree. Even Paul admits, and John certainly over the years admitted that, you know, it was a collection of songs that they unified through, you know, kind of after the fact. It wasn't like written as a full concept in the way that, say, Tommy by The Who was a rock opera. You know, it was all centered around a story. And American Idiot is a story. I mean, it's centered around Jesus of Suburbia is the character, and you know, and it's sort of a commentary on what we were going through in the early 2000s. Very political album, you know, comment about our society, and coming out of the last 4 years, it probably has more relevance in some ways than it did back then even. So kind of interesting, but what a great collection. And that second song, the 9-minute medley of Jesus of Suburbia, is just one of the greatest creations of the 2000s. Like, such a visionary piece of work. People don't do that type of thing anymore. And it was really common back in the 70s. You would have stuff like Bohemian Rhapsody, and you know, it was like, I guess you could, you know, trying to think of where it kind of came from, and I guess it's kind of Beatles in nature, the way you piece a whole bunch of different pieces together into one larger song. I guess The Who did it with a quick one. That was a mini opera kind of thing. But this was Green Day's, and it's the first I can remember in a long time of anybody doing something like that. Radiohead, I guess, kind of did it with OK Computer. But this was, it's just such a complete story, front to back. And the music on that record is so good, for like song to song, and it's got slow stuff and it's got upbeat, and it will grab you by the neck and throttle you down, and then it will, you know, does these gentle songs as well. Really fantastic record. I was listening to that this week, that on Headphonia here, the Meze Lyric, and that's what was on tap this week for me as far as music. And then I had a ton of work too. It's always a ton of work. And I got one other thing I'll talk about in a second. Let's go to the chat real quick. I just want to make sure everything's cool. Oh, here we go. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Cheers. It's Friday. Jeffrey Allison, High Five Boo, Grind Eats, ML Jenkins. Cheers to all. We are on a Friday. What have you guys been listening to? What's been going on out there? What are you excited by? Let's talk about it. Another thing I'm excited about, I just got this is hot off the presses, just came in the mail today. And I'm not these guys really, they get a lot of beef, a lot of grief for this magazine because it's so paid for. You know, like the ads really drive the content, which probably it shouldn't. And boy, people got on YouTubers, and I'm like, no. But look at what's on the cover of Stereophile. This is the Western Electric 91E. The amp is finally out. Their 91E, $16,000 amp. 300B, two 300Bs driving it right there. Kind of see that maybe in the photos. Two 300Bs tubes, and oh my God, it's gorgeous. I'm like, yeah, they did a good job over there. I'm like, would it kill him to send me one? Just saying. 131 ohms, no, 113 ohms on the headphone output. So don't drive your Mezes with that. Going to blow them up. But you'll want to, you can use them with your LCDs. You could use them if you were interested in a $16,000 300B amp. Wow. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. At that price, though, man, you start getting into that Dan DiAgostino momentum area, you know? It's like, oh, I don't know. But, man, what a beauty. What a beauty of an amp. Just gorgeous. And, you know, I'm a huge fan of Western Electric here because I have the tubes. They're in my WA5LE. Those are the tubes that are in there. So that's really quite something. Really impressive. Cover a stereo file, the new one, and yeah, 300Bs. Here we go. Beautiful 91E tube amp, and they'd announced that years ago. That this has been, well, they say it was 10 years in the making, but it was like a good two years ago. It was right at the start of the Director's Garage because I got those tubes. And I did that episode. So, and that was 2 years before that I even got the tube order in, because I had waited 2 years for those tubes after I heard about them producing them again. And I did that little Western Electric documentary. So it's at least 4 years that I've known of this 300B tube amp coming out, and it came out. So that's really cool. That is super cool. So congrats to my friends over at Western Electric. I'm a huge fan of their gear, and I'm sure this thing is amazing, and I hope it makes them a gazillion dollars because they deserve it. They're working hard. All right, let's go to the chat. Alejandro says, I can't make up my mind if it's amazing how applicable the lyrics of American Idiot are today, or if it says something about how we haven't learned from our political history. Yeah, well, that's the great thing about social commentary in music, and you can go back into some of the great social commentary. You know, Dylan clearly had a thing or two to say about culture and where we were at. You can, and Springsteen did it to some degree. In some of his music. Some of it's more like just surface music, but I wonder who's calling. Oh, it's my mom. I'm gonna have to message her later. Okay. So there you go. Sorry, that was my mom ringing in. So yeah, the great social. I mean, I think of Crosby, Stills, Nash. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young back in the day, and Ohio, and talking about the shooting at Kent State, and you know, all of that stuff, and then all the anti-war stuff that came out over the years. I mean, you know, social commentary and music have gone hand in hand, and even go back further. Go back and look at something like Strange Fruit from Billie Holiday, which is talking about lynchings in the South. I mean, it really does. Music has a history of commenting on what's happening at the time and what's relevant, or what the artist was thinking about and what the artist was feeling. And that's always an interesting vein to go down and look at some of those records. And you know, For What It's Worth is just an amazing song, and you know, that's another one. Crosby, Stills, Nash again, but just, you know, some great writers, you know, who had something to say and they put it to music, and we all benefited. And Green Day was no exception. That's an amazing commentary. Pardon me burping. On society back in the time. High Five Boog says just got a custom cable for his LCD2 and the updated pads with the Elite Velour from Deconi while at it. Ordered topping G5 portable amp until he gets a nice DAP. Very cool, man. Very cool. Is it there yet? Did you get it? Did you take ownership, or is it still on the way? Like, you know, you got to wait a couple weeks. And the LCD2 now, are the pads on the LCD2, are they glued on like on my LCD4? Because that's kind of you're gonna have to do a little bit of surgery there, I would think. to get those off and get them on night. But man, velour pads are just, that's so soft and comfortable. But I've noticed that okay. Mom, call me later. Okay. I've noticed that Hifiman's headphones are all, I'm sorry, not Hifiman. We're talking about Audeze. See, that's what happens when I get conflicting messages. My thoughts go astray. Audeze's headphones are generally comfortable, except for the LCD5. That's the one that they really, I thought, kind of chunked it on. But like the LCD4, fantastic. The LCD XC is a very comfortable headphone. LCD4 is a little heavy, but I mean the actual fit and comfort level is pretty huge. Really nice. So I think the LCD2s are even lighter than that. So, but I think you have to do a glue job on those, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know, Hi-Fi Boog, what's going on with that. ML Jenkins, Hi-Fi Boog, how does it sound with new pads? Honestly, he liked how it tuned the bass. Should do a little bit of damping, I would think, like take some of the resonance out. That's usually what I noticed from velour pads, is they kind of tighten up the bass a little bit. He says, but, goes on, but other than that, it didn't change much, just way more comfortable. That's everything. Comfort is so important. As ML Jenkins agrees, comfort is so ridiculously, I'm telling you, if you put these on and they're hurting you, oh boy, the music sounds good. I could probably lose a little more music. It's like we're at the club, and we're sipping martinis and so awesome. Yeah, sipping martinis and smoking cigarettes outside on the lanai. Love that music. But comfort is so ridiculously important to headphones. If that experience of putting them on is not pleasant, no. Yeah, I mean, count me out. It's just not a good time. And I have headphones, you're going to see in the shootout, I'm going to talk about some headphones that aren't so comfortable. And it's like, it's not a good experience. Like they're not, like after about an hour, 40 minutes, hour, you're done. You're like, you want to get these things off your head. And that should never be the case. That's how I was about the Odin. Remember the Odin from Empire Ears that I had, that in-ear IEM? The Odin was one of the most painful headphone experiences I've ever had. It was ugly. Those things hurt to wear. And I paid $3,500 for the experience. I mean, how crazy is that? That's nuts. When you have other things out there that are way, way more comfortable. So there you go. Yeah, it's very important to be comfortable with what it is. Sinister Collector. Yo, what's up? So what amps am I keeping, Director's Garage? Well, I'm keeping most everything. What I've listed though is this. Let's see if I can do this. Whoop. Oh boy, this shit's gonna come apart and the world's gonna fall. This amp right here. This is the dual mono headphone amp from HeadAmp called the GS-X Mk. Now there's a GS-X Mini, which is just a single unit, and then there's the GS-X Mk, and I'm selling that amp. That amp is for sale. I just need to get some gear out of here, and frankly I need to generate some capital for other headphones and stuff, and I'm not using that amp enough. And it's a good amp. I mean, it's a good amp. It's got a silver plate. It's not, it's used. It's used and it looks used, and I've got it used. That was an amp that I traded a Meze Empyrean for. The Meze Empyrean had dropped ridiculously low in price, and I was like, well, I'm not going to get much for the Meze if I sell it outright. I'd get about $1,500 for it. And the guy came up with this GS-X Mark II, and that's just about right for a used Mark II, and okay, it's a good condition. It's not like it's not a brand new product, and I didn't expect it to be. But it's really nice, and it sounds good. That's more importantly, it sounds like it's a great sounding amp. It's got a lot of punch, but with the Ferrum stack back here, this Ferrum Hypsos and or comfort and names. If you make something that's uncomfortable and if you give it a shitty name, I'm going to call you out on it. Hypsos, folks. The Ferrum Hypsos, not the, Ferrum Warhammer or, like, I could call it the Ferrum October, and it would, that's a better name than or and Hypsos, if you prefer. I got eaten by a mosquito. That's what you get for leaving the door open, kids. Don't let your mom tell you otherwise. But yeah, so that amp is going. That's an amp that I'm selling. I'm not making major moves in the amp department. I don't think I'm ready to let go of the cord stack. There's no reason to get rid of that. I have a Cavalli tube hybrid here, which I've shown it in some of the B-roll clips. I use it as a prop, but it's like a $200 amp. I mean, like it was from Drop, but I don't know. I think I may have used it once. Like actually plugged it in, turned it on once. It's a great idea, but I've got stuff that's just way more capable, and so it sits here. But I'm like, at $200, it's like it's going to cost me $50 just to ship the damn thing somewhere. I'm like, just throw it on the shelf and use it as a prop. that's my I'm like, what else am I do with it? Like it's not going to get enough money. It's not worth enough money to do it. But the Ferrum is I'm selling it for what I got it for, $1,500. I'm like, and it's a pretty good price on that. Comes with power cord, but no fancy box or anything like that. This is a used unit, and it's that way. If you're interested, let me know. And you can email me. I'll do all the things because we're at the top of the hour. You can email me at directorsgarage@gmail.com, directorsgarage@gmail.com. If you want to contact me over anything, that's my email address. It goes direct to me. And then you can, that's really what you do. Just email me. Too fun. Yeah, so there you go. Cheers, everybody. That's the amp I'm selling. Nothing else planned to get rid of right now outside of some dust. I've got a lot of dust on equipment right now. I really need to go through the director's garage with a dust rag and get the dust off. I haven't done a good dedusting in a while. So, Hifiman, yes, the pads were glued on, and a little annoying how it lined up, but he somehow lined it up perfectly. Well, that's great, dude, because that can be a real pain. Unless you don't want to be gluing. What'd you use to glue it anyway? Would you use contact cement? I guess it would be contact cement, because you'd want something you could remove again somehow. Yeah. I haven't had the guts to do it, and if I was going to do it to a headphone, it might be the LCD5 that I'd want to replace the earpad, because I hate those earpads. I hate them. But they're part of whatever makes them sound so neutral. So there you go. There you go. Am I keeping the LCD5? Sinister Collection says, well, you're going to have to watch the shootout for that. That's the subject. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of next week, I'm going to release the long-awaited shootout of my 8 top headphones, my 8 top open-back headphones, which I've got more than $30,000 in headphones going into one shootout. And as a result of that shootout, I typically get rid of some things. And I typically hold on to some things. So you have to watch the shootout, and then you'll know what I'm selling, and I'll list all that stuff when the shootout's over. Anything I'm selling. Hi-Fi Boog says he didn't get the G5 yet. Apos just emailed him saying it actually goes out tomorrow. It's awesome. Hypesos winning all those awards. Yeah, it's great. The other one is the Burson Conductor 3X GT. That's really like... Those two are the ones that I think people most talk about in that price range. I think everybody else is talking about, what is it, the Piso? What is that thing? What am I thinking of? That stack. It's a $30,000 stack. This time, let's see what it is. Not name. Nope. 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 Not that. Not any of those. Not any of those. What am I thinking of? Piso? Pico? No, Pico is the... I'm confusing something here. What am I thinking of, fellas? Help me out. It's that stack. It's the three... It's three different units. It's an amp, a DAC, and a head... and something else. Anybody know? The Lena. Thank you. The Lena. Yeah, the Lena. Thank you, ML Jenkins. Cheers to ML Jenkins for rescuing me from my own brain. I appreciate that. Yeah, everybody's talking about the Lena. And I'm interested. God, look at that right there, man. Mosquito bite. So annoying. I'm sitting here itching like I'm a crack addict or a heroin junkie. No, I got a mosquito bite. So, but everybody's talking about that Lena set stack, and I'm just like, God, how would I piece that together? How would I get the money to do that? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a lot of money for you know, for an amp stack. But then again, you know, that's what we do in this hobby. But I'm like, wow, I wonder what, I do just sit there and go, I wonder what that sounds like, because it's got to be pretty good. Yeah, so there you go. The only reason he hasn't dropped major dough on the amp yet is because he'd like to hear it first. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's great, though. It's great. Mrs. Director checking in. So he convinced his wife to let him hit Can Jam next year, so he's going to try and get to whatever coast is closest. Well, I hope you make it. I hope you come out to California. I did not get to Can Jam this year, which was a rarity, but that would be great. Like, you know, get a bunch of us together and hook up for Can Jam next summer, next September. I was so sorry I missed that, but I had other things I had work going on that week. Awesome Boog should meet up in the East. There you go. That'd be sweet. New York Can Jam is usually pretty good, I would think. Yes, so the Lena, yeah, and I want to hear that. That was one of the things that I would have liked to have heard along with the new Focals, the Utopia 2022, and then the Dan Clark Audio Expanse. That was the other the other headphone that I really wanted to hear, and I'll mention that in the shootout that's going up live next week. The headphones that I wish I'd had, you know, like I didn't include because, you know, I'm not made of money. Welcome to the world. Hi-Fi Boog is actually considering the Baths. I think they're just called the Baths, right? They silented the Y for Christmas, actually, but those are good. You know, those look good. I'm impressed. I'd like to hear them. That's gone kind of a short list for me. And I've already got new gear coming in from Audio 46. They sent me some boxes, so I've got the next run of gear ready for after this, you know, next week. So that's pretty cool. We got a lot of stuff coming in, a lot of new stuff. Hopefully maybe that's one of them. They sent me blind unboxing, so that could be cool. That's coming up. Sinister Collector, dude, that's the same price as a car for the leanest stack. Just sell a child. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, this stuff it gets really obscene really fast. And I'm like, there's got to be a market for it because they keep making it. And, you know, it's like the guys who are doing the hi-fi stuff, the real hi-fi stuff. You look at the Dan Clark Momentum. If you're buying that new, it's 40 grand for that Dan Clark, or not Dan Clark, the Dan DiAgostino Momentum amplifier, like 20, you know. And then you look at some of the turntables, and they're like 50 grand, 100 grand, and you're like, you start looking at that stuff, and you're like, who's buying this stuff? Because it's like more in a house, and what do they do for a living? And there's that really cool. Did you see? If you go to YouTube and you check out, there's a guy who built his ultimate listening room, and he was a former speaker maker. He made speaker enclosures, I think, for a living. And if you go check that out, he made an entire room of his house dedicated to personal audio listening. And I mean, the lengths he went through for this room was just crazy insane. And he like mounted the turntable on a steel platform that was like sunk into the bedrock under the house to get the stability, and then that's floated on industrial strength springs to keep perfect isolation. And I mean, I think they said, like, if you start spinning the turntable, it's got such a massive flywheel on it, it'll just keep spinning for like 20 minutes or something. It was crazy. But I wish I could remember. I think I saw it in connection to Steve Guttenberg's channel. I think he did something on it, but the guy posted it himself. It was like a little mini documentary. He talked about his lifelong dream was building this room. So he built on his house. He built an acoustically perfectly set room based on a theater that he really liked and had been to, and it mimics those acoustics and floor to ceiling speakers. Just insane amount of gear, and it was incredible. But check that out; it's on YouTube, and you might find it if you go through Steve Guttenberg or I don't know, Google something. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll post a link in the comments on this video if I can find it. If I find the thing. But yeah, amazing stuff. But just how much you can sell, how much this stuff goes for is crazy. Hi-Fi Boog says, and the fact that he can put a cord on it and amp, he just loves it. Yeah. Pop out along. We're selling body parts now for our audio gear. That's how much we suffer for our art. Batiste, you're saying, Alejandro. Okay, I'll buy that. Batiste. I guess that would be right. I mean, I don't know. Battis was what I had heard, but I guess it could be Batiste. What do we know? I just know that the H it's not Bathies, which is what I'd want it to be. I'm gonna go take a bathy. Pixel Pipes, here you go. Hey, cheers, Pixel Pipes. We haven't seen you in a while. Cheers, buddy. Happy Friday, everybody. 4 o'clock. It's not going to be the longest live stream today. Probably go to the 4:30 hour, maybe a little past, but I wanted to catch up with you guys. Let's give you an update on that mega shootout, because I have been working on it like crazy this week. Really did an all-out push to get that thing completed, and I'm just happy that it's done, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I've spent a lot of time on that one. Just done the research, you know. It's not just the act of putting it together and like doing the, you know, putting all the B-roll in and getting all the shots right and graphics and whatever. It's the hours of listening. And I'm listening for a specific thing. It's like, you know, you'll put on a headphone and you'll be like, you're listening just for detail and which headphone gives you the best detail. And you're going back and forth between 8 headphones. I mean, just that one category, like, it takes hours. like hours of listening and pulling tracks and swapping sources and doing stuff just to try and get that one answer, and then you've got to rank them, and then you go back and then you start questioning your rankings, like, is this just doesn't seem right that this headphone would be so far down, or this headphone sounded so high up to me, and now I got to listen to those two back to back and make sure I'm, a lot of that back and forth stuff. Like the research is amazingly long for these mega shootouts. It takes such a long time. Pixel5 says, anyway, cheers. Would you ever review a vintage headphone just for fun? If someone sent it to you? Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I've kind of, not it's not vintage, but I've done older headphones. Certainly the LCD4 is not. This is the OG LCD4, and I just did this a couple months ago. Right here. This is out, by the way, because somebody had asked me what the LCD4 was like with a tube amp, and I was doing that listening the other day, and sort of like describing what it was that I heard when I put these into the WA5LE, the Woo Audio 300B amp, and how did that compare to a solid state amp? They asked me about that, so I was, and my answer was, by the way, it's a warmer sound, a little less detailed. Bass doesn't quite punch as deep, but you get more of a euphoric, like, space. I still think I like these better with the solid state stuff. I think it's a little better on the bottom end. Just has a little more authority. Not a lot more, but just it seems like it's got a little more authority to me when you put these on a solid state amp versus a tube, a good solid state amp. You still need a lot of power. They're not, they're not Susvara crazy, but they need some juice. They're like the Abyss. They need some kick to get them going, to get them firing. But that's not a headphone that's out. You can't go on the website and buy it anymore. It's an old headphone, but it's so well renowned, and it's so revered, I think, that it made sense for me if I could get a pair for a good deal, which I did. It made total sense for me to buy them. I so wanted to do that, comparison, or do that piece, do that review. So yeah, very interested in that. So yeah, I would definitely, I've done, and I got the original Abyss in because I couldn't afford a brand new TC. So I wound up doing some trades and, working my way up and throwing some more money at it. And eventually I did get the TC from Abyss, but I reviewed the original Abyss before I reviewed the TC. I had that. The Abyss was here for the last shootout, the last mega shootout, and I have no apologies about it. I'm like, I think it's a headphone that people raved about back when it came out, and I wanted to hear what that was about, and I wanted to talk about it. So I'm like, yeah, if I can get it, absolutely. So good. Tommy V, hello, San Fernando Valley. Have you had a chance to hear any of the Oris audio headphones yet? No. Amps. No, I have not heard the Oris amps yet. I would love to. Just haven't gotten to it. And amps are a little trickier because people don't just send you amps. It's like a whole arrangement thing if you're going to get an amp, because they're heavy and they're a lot more painful to ship. A headphone, like, you just throw it in a box with some bubble wrap and you're done. The amps, like, there's more of a thing with them, and people don't like to shoot. People don't like to ship them, and so I rarely get. The only company that's ever sent me an amp was Hifiman. iFi, and iFi sent me their portable amps, and that's fine. I mean, it's great, it worked. But yeah, getting somebody to send you a full amp that's a tall ask. So we'll see. I've been in discussion on occasion with Burson. They're a company that has offered to send me some product in the past. I was kind of like not doing that through a manufacturer direct as a policy for a while. Particularly about a year ago, it became a big deal when reviewers were accepting loaner products direct from manufacturers. They felt like they needed to say something nice, give a positive review. So I was trying to avoid that while that controversy was raging. I think that's died down now. I could probably make a couple of deals now and feel a little less guilty about it, and tell people what I actually thought. And, you know, I think everybody expects, oh, I lost my light. Dang. Whatever will we do? Got another one. Charge me, says the USB-C light. Have my USB-C cable? Yes, I do. You're going right into charge, mister. Oh, we'll turn you off first, though. Yeah, totally depleted that light. How about that? Yeah, so I think I'm more willing to do that today than I was a year ago. A year ago, things were really, I mean, it was like right at that point, and people were really getting on shows that were taking stuff direct from manufacturers, and they were giving generally positive reviews anytime they got some from manufacturer. And I understand that onus, and I understand the concern from a viewer, you know, wanting to get an honest review from somebody. And not to say that I know of anybody that ever fudged a review or tainted a review, as it were, based on the fact that they got something new or got something free from the manufacturer. Not free, even on loan. And I think most people say, you know, these opinions are my own, and I'm not, you know, and people try to stay by their word and say what they actually think. But I took that out of the equation because I was a young channel at the time, and I didn't need any negative press at all. And like, I didn't need anybody accusing me of like, oh, you just gave that a positive review because you got it from, you know, somebody to review. And I'm like, look, I got the iFi signature, and I gave it a generally poor review because the knob on it was noisy. And like, I'm like, you send this out to review, I would think you'd want to check it before you put it in my hands. That said, the Diablo was a very good device, but I thought for the money, the iDSD signature made more sense because you got more control. You know, if you don't need the raw power, if you're not trying to drive like an Abyss with a portable headphone, there's no reason to buy the Diablo. Buy the signature. For 90% of the headphones out there, it's perfectly fine. It's got a ton of power, and you get more control over what power you're sending to the headphone, because it had all these other, you know, little sub settings you could tweak into whatever it was you were playing. And the Abyss the Diablo, just like it had like couple of switches on it, and that was it. So I kind of liked that control that you got off of the iDSD signature, and that was from a manufacturer. That said, I was disappointed in the iDSD signature because it had a noisy volume knob, and it was a noisy headphone connector. And that was disappointing. And I also didn't particularly care for the USB cable on that, because they've got a weird arrangement on that. They could have done it much more elegantly with just a USB-C port, and they've got this big USB-A connector on it that's really odd. So there you go. That was that. A long rat hole for nothing. I hope that was enjoyable. Or made sense. But yeah, now I think I've loosened up a little bit on that. So if Lena Audio wants to send me that $30,000 stack, I'll review it. Cheers, Lena. Hope you're watching today. I'm not saying you'll get it back. Okay, Hi-Fi Boo, going back to the chat. Zeos IEM. I got those Zeos IEM Lecture Z12. He kind of really likes them. He hasn't touched his Arias since he got them. He'd love for me to do a collab cable or something someday. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I got to get much bigger, Hi-Fi Book. I gotta do better than 21 concurrent viewers, and I gotta get better than, what do we got, 4,000 subscribers ish. You know, people start paying attention maybe at the 10,000 subscriber level, but I don't think they really start getting serious about you until you're more like 100,000. But we'll see. We'll see what people want to do. I don't care. I'm down with anything. I know that there are things that I like to hear and things that I listen for, and I can describe it. And I don't know that other people can. So there you go. That's just my opinion, but, you know, people may think I have shit hearing, which arguably I do. Chef Steve, Sony R10 is legendary. Of course it is. And Hifiman has been ripping off that design for the last 3 years. So there's that. My R9, I'd pull that out to pull my R9. Let's try that again in English. I would pull out my Hifiman R9 to just drive that point home, except they're sitting at work. I use them as a work headphone. Jeffrey Allison has got the original Dianas. What's everybody's thoughts on the improvement going to the Diana TC? Haven't heard the Diana TC. I can tell you I don't like ear pads that sit on my ear. So anytime I've had a headphone where the ear pad sits on my ear, talking about you, Audeze, and your LCD5, it's something I generally don't like. I'm sure they may sound great. LCD5's a hellacious sounding headphone, really good sounding headphone, but I'm not down with the fit on those things. It's just not very fun to wear. Jeffrey Allison loves Sony's domestic market house sound. I don't know if I have a house sound that I like. I would say, if anything, Meze is like more my... I think Meze is more consistent with what I like to hear in a headphone. If I had to say anything, I would say that they're right up there. You know, that's a tuning that seems to come across on all of their headphones, the Elite, you know, all that stuff. They seem to have a certain approach, and it seems to, not in the bad way, but it seems to resonate with me. I want to resonate. And look, we've got some dating. Guys, it's Friday. If you guys are looking for some adult dates, Tinder Hot here would really like you to go give your personal information to them. Oh, shoot, I pushed the button and they're gone. That's a shame. Tinder Hot XYZ dating, where you go to lose your money. There you go. Okay, Ace of Spades checking in. Cheers, Ace of Spades. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. So good. Cheers, everyone. Chef Steve says he's tried some vintage Stax gear, like the Lambada models. Yeah, that L series gets a lot of raves even today. And like I said, when I got my first Chef Steve, when I got my first Stax, I got the original OG 009. And I didn't like them that much. I thought they were good, but I didn't think they were great. And then I got the 009S. They're, you know, but that Stax gear, and at the time they had already come, I think that when I got it, I think when I got the 009, the 009S was already out. And then I listened to and then I finally got the 009S, sold the 009. And then, and now I want to get the X9000. I sold the 009S after the last shootout. And I have the Carbon now as my Electrostat go-to. You have to watch next week to see if it stays or goes. And then I still want to get the X9000 from them. That's like the next step in my Electrostatic world tour. I really want to hear the X9000. I haven't yet. But yeah, those older Stax models, particularly was it the 700? People just raved about those. And I don't know if you can still get them or not. Little boxy looking. They're not the most attractive headphones in the world, but if they do the job and they sound great, cheers. You know, go for it. Ace of Spades says he was listening to some Gregory Porter and he missed the launch of this live session. Well, You know, if you click the little bell next to subscribe, it'll give you an alert every time we go live on this show. Shameless plug. Speaking of shameless plugs, I do this every episode, but we'll do it now anyway. We have some deals through our show, through our channel, with Audio 46 being the most prominent one. Audio 46, if you go to their website and you buy a bunch of crap, and at checkout, if you put in the coupon code Director's Garage, all one word, you can knock an extra 5% off of most of the gear they carry. It's our way of paying it forward to you, the loyal, faithful viewer of the Director's Garage show, and at the same time, you give a little love back to us in the form of we get a little small percentage of any sale comes back to the Director's Garage. And you're working with the best in the business in Audio 46. They ship fast and free, and they're awesome guys over there. I mean, that's the coolest part is of this whole hobby is the people I've met along the way. Audio 46 is one of them. They're just fantastic. Also have a deal with Lynn Soul. You can, because we don't do Patreon and memberships and all that shit around here. We're just low rent. And it's mostly just because I don't have time for it. And if this show gets 10,000 subscribers and it starts like really seriously making money, yeah, I'll hire somebody to handle something like a membership program, and we'll do all that stuff. I have some ideas for what I think a membership would look like on this show. It would start with, we would do some private Zooms where instead of doing this public thing where I'm just like, it's one way, I'm just talking at you and you're feeding back over, we would do like the Zoom thing where we're each in a box, and you all, you know, for your membership, you'd get a Zoom address and we all tune in at a certain time, and I'd host a Zoom hangout where we could actually show off our gear and talk about some things. And, you know, we're in a much more controlled environment. It's a little safer, you know, we're in our little bubble kind of thing. That would be the point of doing a membership for me. I can't do giveaways as a part of a membership because that becomes a lottery. You're paying for something to get a chance to win something, and so you can't do that. But I was like, I've thought about like different things I could do with memberships. That would be one of them. But anyway, I don't have memberships, so that's one way to do it. Go to linsoul.com. There's an affiliate link below. Just click on that, or you can go to Amazon. This is kind of a cool one. If you need to go shopping for cat food. And you're looking for, if you click on the affiliate link below and it takes you to Amazon, you can buy anything you want on Amazon. You don't have to buy what the affiliate link is clicked on, but you just load up your cart with whatever it is you're normally going to buy, and when you check out, it kicks a percentage of that, just a small percentage, back to the Director's Garage as a thank you for the referral. So that's the other way that we try to recoup a little bit of money on this channel. because we're broke. So that's if you do any of that stuff, if you do that, and it doesn't cost you anything, it's like you just click the thing and do your shopping, and that's that. So I spent 3 minutes on that, and now we'll get on with the rest of the program. But I talk about that about once a live stream, just to put it out there, because it is the only way this show will ever make money, it seems like. So sorry, Ace of Spades, you missed that. Do you think, Alejandro says, do you think Headphone IEM collabs with reviewers improve the original products? Feel free to ignore this question if it's too controversial. I don't avoid anything. Do I think Headphone and IEM collabs with reviewers improve on the original products? Well, I think I just have to go by like the track record. The Clinical stuff that came out, like, it's funny, the Clinical to Dusk, what is it? What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of the Moondrop Blessing to Dusk, which was a Clinical edition of the Blessing 2. That was an improvement. That sounded really good to me. That was one of the best sounding IEMs I had heard that year. That's like 2 years ago or something. That said, the Clinical stuff that's come out since, I haven't been that big a fan of. I thought I was going to be super impressed with He did a collab last year, and I wasn't. So I'm like, I don't know. So I guess it just comes down to what it is, and I'm not familiar with and he's the only one that I know that does the collab. And then the John Massaria thing, I mean, there's something to taking a $200 headphone and making it sound like an $800 or $900 headphone through like diffusion and improving the soundstage and taming certain frequencies and trying to pull those frequencies down and out of the mix. I think he did a pretty good job of that. So, you know, in some ways I'd say yes, but I also say, you know, you got to listen to yourself, and if it's not working for you, don't do it. You know, like if you hear, just audition with an open mind, I guess, you know, is what I'm saying. That said, there are headphones that I would really like to spend some time with, like if the manufacturer was open to it and would like to do a tuning. There's a couple of headphones I have in mind that I would really like to just, like, they're so close. But you know, hey, they're doing what they want and they're making a lot of money, and I always respect people who create headphones, because it's not an easy thing to do to make one of these things. Now, the driver alone for Meze, Antonio Meze, who founded Meze Audio, the driver alone, getting that to work was just years, and pain and struggle and development, and you know, you get all that way done, and then somebody just like bashes your product. I'm like, that's not cool either, because you know that there are real people who put their heart and soul into making something like this. And to their credit, you know, Meze's done it pretty well, pretty consistently. There are some criticisms, of course, about almost any product. You try and find, you know, what it is you like about something. I don't want to blow smoke up somebody's behind and say, you know, this is a great product. You know, the fact is that the Renault driver doesn't have the resolution of, say, the Focal M driver or the Beryllium driver. However, this is one of the best tuned closebacks I've ever heard, if not the best tuned closeback. Is it the fastest closeback? No. I think even the Sennheiser HC820 is a better one. And the HC820 has a better sound stage. It's got a wider sound stage. It's a wacky sound stage. You love it or you hate it. But this is a great experience. This is the best closeback experience. And the only thing I can say is that I haven't heard the ZMF Verite closed yet. And everybody says you got to hear those. I've had the Stellia. These are better than the Stellia to my ears. The Stellia was not doing it for me. I didn't like the tuning on that at all. Not afraid to say it. I bought the headphone. I bought the headphone wanting to love the headphone. I didn't like it. So, you know, I think it just comes down to what, you know, always buyer beware and hear what you can beforehand. That's always something to do, you know. Try and hear. That's what Can Jam's all about. That's why Can Jam's so great. You get to hear all this stuff in a really bad, shitty environment, granted, but you'll get an idea of what you're going to have when you get it home. Darren says, cheers, Darren. Cheers. Happy Friday. What are you drinking? Are you drinking something? Gotta have a beverage. If you're stopping in on the Director's Garage live stream, you better have a beverage at hand. I've been known to suck back a beer or two during the show. Not today, but no. Darren says it would be good to see my take on the Meze 109 Pro. I haven't ordered the 109 Pro, but it is probably something that I would probably get in here at some point. It's one of those headphones at that cost or whatever. I would expect maybe Audio 46 might take pity on me and send me a pair sometime. But my thing that I do with Audio 46 is they send me stuff in a box and they don't tell me what it is. So I open the box live on the air, and I literally find out the second I open the box what it is they sent me. I call it the blind unboxings. I love doing them. It's so fun. And I get like a reaction, and it's really funny when I can't figure something out. And you're like, everybody at home is like, you idiot, you got them on backwards. And I'm like, yeah, I do, but I didn't know that. So funny. Martin says, Happy you caught us live. Well, we're happy you're here live. Happy everybody is here live and able to drop by today on a Friday. You know, you guys got things to do. Everybody's got things to do. So I appreciate that you guys took a few minutes out of your day, stop by and say hello. And we're just shooting the shit today. We talked about the new Western Electric amp earlier, the 91E finally coming out. I talked about the rollout of my of the big mega shootout 2. I think I'm calling it. I think the official title is 8 is enough. That's what I'm calling it. It's so clever, right? And it's so 70s, just like me. So yeah, I have the 8 is enough shootout coming out next week, and I talked about that, and also talked about Peter Gabriel's got a new album coming out for you prog rock fans. If you missed the top of the show, I talked a bit about prog rock and Peter Gabriel. So that's my recap. Oh, I gotta start wrapping it up anyway. I'm Mrs. Director's here. Hey, Tinder dating's back, everybody. Please don't go there. Please don't give them any oxygen. Martin says, where do you recommend buying and selling headphones? And the answer would be Headphone. Yeah, that's the best place to go. There is it's funny. There's this channel, somebody sent me something for called the Super Best Audio Friends, and I applied for a membership to try and buy something on there, and then they never got back to me. They never approved me, so I was unable to. But that's another place you could go. Headphones.com has a for sale section, and of course there's eBay. But Headfi is the place to go, really. I mean, if everybody who's anybody sells there. I've sold there. Real Time is my handle, REELTIME, over on Headfi, and I put a link to that. I think there's a link somewhere in my notes. I always link to Headfi because I respect them. They don't respect me, but I respect them. I almost got banned from Headfi. I had to stop posting there because they told me I was, page after page, people post like, look at my video review, look at my video review, look at my video review. And I didn't even put it in a thread. I put it on my own personal page, so people would have to know to go to the Real Time username and then find my moderate, like my channel, my personal channel, and that's where I was posting links to my YouTube reviews, and they threatened me. I was like, okay, I'm just not going to post here. That's why I stopped posting reviews. I'm not going to give you free content if you can't at least let me post a review. What's the difference between a video review and a written review anyway? You know what I mean? What you're discriminating over the media by which I choose to tell my story of headphones. But yes, they're a great place to go buy and sell headphones. Go over there, and you can even find my stuff over there if you look hard enough. Chef Steve says, what's the first headphone I remember trying? Well, the first headphone I would have had was in the 1970s, and it was a pair of Koss plastic headphones that my mom would have bought me to keep me quiet. And what I learned back then, being an electronics nerd, or just a nerdy kid, was that speakers work two ways. Did you know that? A speaker is a coil with a magnet, and it is the magnet is attached to the speaker, and the coil is sitting there, and the electromagnetic wave moves the coil in it, the magnet in and out around the coil, and it moves a diaphragm, the giant diaphragm, which makes the sound. Well, I reverse engineered a pair of headphones because I was young and I really wanted to have an electric guitar, but mom wouldn't let me have an electric guitar, or we couldn't afford it, or whatever the reason was. But I had this old acoustic tiny guitar that I had when I was a kid, and when I was first learning to play guitar, I still haven't learned how to play guitar, by the way. I'm not very good. And I took the headphone and I clamped it on the guitar. Okay? So now the speaker was being moved by the vibration of the guitar. And then I plugged that into the mic input of my cassette deck. And I turned the gain on the cassette deck up all the way. I got distortion. And I could play electric guitar over my acoustic guitar. And how nerdy was I? That's what I did. It's a true story. That's what the Koss headphones wound up going for. They wound up being a pickup, a reverse pickup for my acoustic guitar, which I then was able to get distortion out of. So there you go. That's the nerdy younger director. Ace Space says, would you consider buying an amp made for Japanese power or the U-Grid and then have aftermarket conversion to get it to work on ours? That's a lot of ifs. I probably not. I probably would just find a dedicated US version, but most 220 stuff will run on 120 also. Most of it. You know, very few things would require that. If I was building a rig, like a listening rig in my living room, and I had a big amp and I wanted to drive big tower speakers, I would probably have a 220 line directly laid for that amp if it was an amp that required 220 power, because I wouldn't want to mess with that. But for like this stuff, no. Then for any of this stuff, no. I don't think I would bother with like a converter or whatever. I just buy an American version of it or just buy a different product. I mean, I can't think of anything that would be worth me buying, like a Stax. There's an American version of every Stax amp. So yeah, I don't know. My answer would be probably not. I would just get the US version of it and find it used. I'm always buying used anyway. So best close back, he's tried but aspired to own, Chef Steve says, is the Dan Clark Audio Stealth. Chef Steve, I auditioned the Stealth at Can Jam last year, and I've said this on the show before. I didn't really care for it. What I appreciated about the Stealth was it was comfortable, well designed, and you put them on, and very few headphones have taken sound out of the space around my head like the Stealth did. I put them on and it was like negative sound. And that was an amazing achievement. Whatever they're doing to dampen the nanomaterial, whatever the metamaterial, whatever that is, it did an amazing job of making things quiet inside the headphone passively, without the need for an electronic, something or other interfering. But it was, to me, they were lacking bass, like severely lacking bass. And somebody said, well, you didn't have the seal right on the headphone. And I would have said yes, except I listened to two different pair. And I listened on two different amp setups, and neither had the sub bass or the bass that I was looking for in a headphone. It did not excite me in the way that the Meze products do, or the Audeze products do, or it was just missing. It was severely missing in that. That said, the Noir I put on, and I really like the Noir, which is 1/4 the price of the Dan Clark Stealth. I would have bought the Noir in a second at $900. I thought that was a really good sounding headphone. But yeah, the Stealth wasn't for me. But I always say this too, because I don't like something doesn't mean that they suck. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that I didn't like it. Do your own research and listen to your own stuff. And I'm okay if you like something that I don't like. I'm okay. I'm perfectly okay with that, and you should be okay with me liking something you don't like. It's a big tent, and they make all these products for a reason, because it's going to appeal to somebody. And with that, Jeff C says, what audio gear do you regret buying? I don't think I regret buying anything, because everything was interesting. I would say that some of the, what I regret buying is when I bought something new, because you take such a big hit when you buy new gear. I really should have held out and waited for a used pair to hit the market for a lot less money. And that's what I tell people to do. And, you know, we talk about how expensive this stuff is. Yeah. Go buy used, folks. Buy used. Don't go out there and plop down your $3,000 on the latest and greatest headphone, because in a month you're going to be able to sell them for $2,000. You'll take $1,000 hit if you don't like them, or if you grow tired of them. You don't like. Wait, hold out and buy used. Always buy used gear. That's my advice. That's where the regrets come in, because like as it was, I bought. Sight Unseen, Sound Unheard. I bought a pair of, and I hate to single out ZMF, but I bought a pair, it's the truth. I bought a pair of ZMF openbacks. I bought the ZMF Verite openback, and I paid $3,600 for this custom designed, and they got here and they were gorgeous. I mean, works of art. You look at them and it was like, and go back and look at that episode. It was like episode 8 or something. And my initial reaction was okay with them, kind of like they didn't sound great to me. And then I let them play a little bit, and I tried some different amps with them, and they sounded better. And then I got the Utopia in-house, my first Utopia ever, and I was like, oh, I really like the way these sound, and I like them a lot better than I like how the Verite sounds. And I would like a chance to do that. That was a regret too. Was the review I did of that headphone. I was so new on the channel and new to headphone stuff. I don't know that maybe I didn't find the right appreciation for the ZMF Verite, and I would like it, maybe like a mulligan on that and a chance to do that one again maybe. But my regret was that I bought that new instead of waiting and finding a used pair. Because a used pair would have cost me $2,200, $2,300. Now they're probably like $1,800 to buy a used pair of Verite opens, and I paid $3,600, and I lost my shirt on it because I think I sold them for $2,200, and it was just like $1,200 out the door, and I didn't get the joy out of the headphone that I had wished I'd gotten. So I don't regret buying the headphone because I wanted to hear the headphone, and the thrill of opening that box was so great because they looked so good, and Zach did such an amazing job with the presentation. Just the headphone didn't quite appeal to me, and so I don't regret buying it for the reason of the headphone didn't meet my expectations. Same thing with the Stellia. I bought the Stellia and the Focal Stellia, and I didn't like them at all. You know, I was really disappointed with that headphone, and I bought it with my own money. But I bought those used, and when I went to sell them, I got what I paid for them. So, granted, I did a little cleanup work on them because they came dirty, but I didn't like selling. But I didn't regret buying that headphone because I bought it used. I didn't take like a massive bath on them when I went to resell them. So I don't regret buying anything. I do regret the situations of buying new versus used. A couple more, and then we're going to wrap this up. Luxman's P75U headphone amp are readily available for 100 volts in the Japan market and 2,000 used if you want the US power. It's 3,000 used. Ace of Spades, my answer would be to buy something else. At $3,000, that's a stack. That's the Ferrum stack. That's a Burson. And if a company's going to jack up the price for just a power supply, no, not going to happen. So I wouldn't buy the amp. That's my answer to Ace of Spades. I just not going to do that. Okay, everybody, I'm going to start wrapping up because I've got dinner plans, and Mrs. Director is going to want to say hello to me. It's been an hour. Let me go to the outro. Let's get that going. I want to thank you guys for stopping by the live stream today. Tip your waiters and waitresses on the way out the door. Have a couple of beers for me tonight. Listen to some good music this weekend. Next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the amazing mega shootout. I hope it's amazing to you. If you guys hate it, just don't even tell me. Don't tell me that you thought it sucked and whatever. Just blow smoke up my ass. I worked so hard on it. That's all right. So cheers, everybody. I wish you the best weekends, and thank you for stopping by the Director's Garage live stream, happy hour, hangout, and we'll be back on maybe Wednesday next week. Oh, I got something on Wednesday next week, don't I? It might be Thursday next week. Let me check real quick. Calendar. 11 a.m. It's dicey. I'm not sure I'm going to make next week. I've got to shoot at like 11 o'clock in the morning, so we'll see. So not sure what's going to happen there. But if I can make the 3:30, it'll be Wednesday next week. I can't guarantee it right now because I got to shoot in the middle of the day. All right, guys. Cheers. Have a good weekend, everybody. Listen to some good tunes and check out your gear and comment below when you get something good that excites you. I don't know what I'm saying today. But have a great week, and we will see you before you know it. So dumb.